Start with running through a simple table and the graph we can produce with the table. For our x values, we're just going to start off here and let our initial x value be 0. And then rather than typing in 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, we can say that the next row down equals the cell above plus 1. And then we can take these values, drag down, and complete our table without having to do a lot of typing. One advantage of this is if we do change the initial value, the whole table updates. Now to put in our y values, we're going to graph the function y equals 3x plus 2. So we need to put in equals 3 times, and then we'll do a cell reference for the x value, plus 2. And then we can complete the table here by getting our black cross and double clicking. As long as the column to the left is completed, that will fill down the rest of the graph. Sorry, the rest of the table. Then to do the graph, we can select these values. We could click and drag. We could also click in the upper left-hand corner, hold down our Shift key, click in the lower right-hand corner, and that'll select all the x and y values. And then we can go to Insert, Scatter. I like the one that the smooth lines, and we get our graph. Once we have our graph, we can go into our layout tools, maybe turn the legend off. We can insert horizontal axes and get a title in here, x values. We can insert a vertical title here, y-axis. We can add a table title. And enter. Okay, once we have it, we can always do some adjusting. We can drag things around. We can make things smaller or larger. A little more room there, a little more room there. Shift values around. Be sure to play around with these a little bit so you get comfortable with it. Okay, we're going to try a little more complicated table. This one's going to have parameters. And rather than just typing y equals mx plus b, we're going to let m and b be parameters. So we're going to put values in. Say we want the slope to be -2 and the starting value to be a 4. We're still going to graph y equal mx plus b. And let's go ahead and, still start our table here at 0. And then let it be the cell above plus 1. We can drag down and complete the table. And this time, rather than typing in to our table y equals -2x plus 4, we're going to use cell references. So this is going to equal the m value. And then we need to hit the F4 key to make this an absolute reference. And then we're going to take this times the x value. We want this to be a relative address, so we'll update as we complete the table, plus the b value, and again we want that to be an absolute reference. And then hit enter. And then when we complete our table, our y function here is interactive. We can see we've got a slope of -2 because it's going down by 2, and our y-intercept is at 4. So if we change our y-intercept to be, say, 5, the table updates. If we want our slope to be -0.5, the table updates. And so we're interactive with those parameters. And then the third type of table I want to look at is one that we can actually zoom in on. To do this, we're going to need starting and stopping values defining the x's here. So we can have a start value. We could go ahead and do from 0 to 10. The number of steps you can choose. I find it convenient to choose a nice number, such as 100 or 10 or 1,000, because the important thing here is the number of steps must match the number of rows in your table for the table to actually stop at the stop value. So I'm going to choose to let the number of steps be 100, and then the size of the step is actually a formula referencing these start, stop, and number of step values. So this is going to equal, be sure to use parentheses, the stop value, subtract the start value, close parentheses, divided by the number of steps. Okay, slight interruption there. So we're going to go ahead here, complete our table for the x's, and this is going to equal whatever the start value is, and then this should equal the cell above plus the size of the step. And the size of the step, we need to F4 that to make it an absolute reference. Okay, and then we can complete our table. This is where the shift click really comes in handy. I've already done a split screen and run down here. Since my table's starting at 10, I want it to stop at 110 in order to have that 100 rows to match my 100 steps. So I'm going to click here, hold down my shift key, click here, and then I can, I'll come up here and do the fill down. And now my table's starting at 0, ending at 10. And if I change any of these values, say I want my table to start at -10 and go to 120, it's all updating. The size of the step is adjusting, and we are stopping at the stop value. And, let me make up something in here to be our function. How about equals 3 times x plus 2? Some sort of function. And again, we could combine both of these and make a table that both has parameters and is zoomable, but let's not get too complicated here. Okay, going to complete my table. And then if I select my values, so again, clicking here, holding down my shift key, clicking here, I'm going to insert a scatter plot. I'll drag it up here where I can see it, and do a little adjusting here. See what I'm doing. Don't really need that legend. That gives me a little more room. I now have a graph that I can zoom on. So if I'm interested in the values between, say, 20 and 50, that will both adjust my table and adjust my graph. -1000 to 5000, my table adjusts and my graph adjusts. So this is a really useful tool. Hope you found this helpful.